وإذ قال موسى لقومه يا قوم اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ جعل فيكم أنبياء وجعلكم ملوكا وآتاكم ما لم يؤت أحدا من العالمين يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين قالوا يا موسى إنا فيها قوما جبارين وإنا لن ندخلها حتى يخرجوا منها وإن يخرجوا منها فإنا داخلون قال رجلان من الذين يخافون أنعم الله عليهم ادخلوا عليهم الباب وإذا دخلتموه فإنكم غالبون وعلى الله فليتوكلوا إن كنتم مؤمنين صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. ایک سورہ فاتحہ برائے بانیان افطار.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Dearest brothers and sisters, inshallah we continue our reading of this dua from Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, dua 44 of As-Sahifatu As-Sajjadiyah. We spoke about the requests that the Imam was making from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this blessed month. And we said the first of the requests that the Imam is making and we are making as an extension is to help us use our faculties, our limbs, the resources that we have available to us in ways that Allah has allowed for it, in ways that is pleasing to Allah and not in ways that Allah, of course, is displeased with or He has made forbidden. So that was the first point that we focused our attention on last night. Now from here, the Imam gets into some of these specifics. And in those specifics, again, the Imam takes our attention towards those things which are central in the deen. He states, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa alih wa qifna fihi ala mawaqit as-salawat al-khams bihududiha. O Allah, send your salutations and bless the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his household. And in this month, allow us to attend to the moments or the times of the 5 daily prayers or the 5 designated prayers. Bihududiha, with the bounds that you have designated for them. Allati haddatta. Wa furudiha allati faradta, and the obligations that you have decreed in it. وَوَظَائِفِهَا الَّذِي وَظَّفْتَ, and the duties that you have assigned within each of them. وَأَوْقَاتِهَا الَّذِي وَقَّتَّ, and the times in which you have designed for them. There's of course, the establishment of prayer, the performance of the prayer, is central to the deen. And when we look to the Quran, we look to the riwayat, we can see that the prayer serves as a pillar. In more than one place, the Quran not only instructs to the performance of prayer, and the prayer, of course, was one of the early institutions in Islam, but also it's an emphasis that if you're going to build on anything in your religious practice, your religious identity, let it be built on the institution of prayer. حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Not only perform the prayer, but be protective over the conduct and the performance of the prayer, and especially the middle prayer, and stand in obedience to Allah. قد أفلح المؤمنون. And in reciting all of the reasons why the believing people have achieved success, it states وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. Those individuals who have been watchful over their prayers. عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. So this idea of not just performance, but protection. You protect something that's important to you, that's sacred to you, right? Something that is expendable, you're a little more wasteful with it, you're a little more liberal with it, right? You do it, you not do it. You can have it, you cannot have it. But the prayer is not like this. And in speaking of the importance of the prayer, we look to the riwayat, the language is very strong. And I just want to share a few of these because it's possible that we may not have read them or may not have heard them as much. This is from of course, Al-Kafi of the late Marhum Kulaini, that narrates from one of the companions of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. He says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. He says, I asked the Imam, an afdali ma yataqarrabu bihi al-ibad ila rabbihim. I asked, what's that thing that the servants of God can do that really will approximate them towards their Lord? وَحَبِّ ذَلِكَ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَ. And the most beloved amongst all the actions that they can do in the eyes of Allah. ما هو? What is it? فقال ما أعلم شيئا بعد المعرفة. The Imam says, I know nothing after the basic recognition and appreciation and knowledge and understanding of the fundamentals of the religion. أفضل من هذه الصلاة. Better than this prayer. So remember, in any sort of religious foundation, a person doesn't have understanding, their religion is going to be weak. It's not even about religion. In any practice, in any way of life, in any person's basic understanding, appreciation, the weaker that is, the less they're going to be obliged to act in accordance with it. The more convicted they are, the more really they're going to push themselves to work within those boundaries. So after the ma'rifah, the Imam says, I know nothing as powerful or as strong as this salah. ألا ترى أن العبد الصالح عيسى بن مريم عليه الصلاة والسلام قال وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا. Did you not see the example of Isa عليه الصلاة والسلام, that he said, and he has made me, Allah, blessed wherever I may be, and he has enjoined upon me the salat and the zakat as long as I live. We also see in other parts of the riwayat speak about the importance of prayer as serving as the pillar of religion. In one of the accounts, they say the prayer itself is like the pillars of a tent, the stakes of a tent. You remove that and the tent collapses. Same thing with the religion, it serves as a pillar. You remove the pillars of any sort of construction, the building collapses. And it's because the prayer serves as kind of like the daily regimen that a Muslim is supposed to have, to not just build their spirituality, build their faith, but to protect them from other things that are damaging to it. Think of all the basic things that we do in life that's supposed to serve as not just upkeep, but also to build, right? So we have a level of hygiene that we should practice. If we don't stay on top of it, then, we not just exceed the bounds of what's socially acceptable, but it could have some detrimental effects in relationships and our physical health too. So we have to keep ourselves clean, and we do that. Dental hygiene the same way, even though maybe sometimes less as the other physical hygienes. Other daily thing, we have to eat, we have to sleep. If we don't observe these things and in the right way and in the right amounts, then our life falls out of a balance. You don't sleep well for a couple of nights, you become groggy. Your attitude is, not as well. You're not as efficient. You're not as productive. You're not as sharp. Same thing with food. So the salah is meant to serve as that daily practice, that routine, that if you're protective over it, then it keeps things in an equilibrium. Without that, you can try all sorts of different things, but it's not going to replace the fact that you need the prayer, and the prayer is there to help you establish some sort of a basic baseline of your religious practice. Right? So think of prayer as your sleep. You cannot replace sleep with anything else. If you don't have sleep, you will not function as a human being. As a Muslim, if you do not have prayer, you cannot function like a normal Muslim. There's no two ways about it. The ulama, of course, are very supportive of this idea of taking the prayer seriously. Right? And if we look to the suggestions that they give for all spiritual practices, we find that the prayer serves as the key to all of them. The late Ayatollah Bahjat, one of the great scholars and practitioners of Islam, one of the great mu'mineen, muttaqeen, in recent memory that passed away in Qom, he, of course, was a teacher of many in their spiritual journeys, and they would go to him looking for not just scholarship on different areas, because he was a first-rank scholar, he was a marja, but also because he was a spiritual teacher. So when they go to him, obviously they're asking for, what can I do? What can I do to take myself to the next stage? And I'm sure there's some sort of obscure program that you can look at me, you can see me, you can gauge me. Okay, for you, you do this dhikr, or you do this program, or you do this thing. Always when they would go to him, and he would say it in a public setting, he said, if you want to become successful in any spiritual practice that you have, start with the prayer. And if you really want to show your commitment in advance, pray on time. There's a statement from him and also one of the other great teachers, Sayyid Ali Qadi, that they say that a person who wants to reach those high spiritual stages, with the prayer and the prayer on time, a person can reach them. And this is kind of the things that are attributed to them. It says someone who prays their obligatory prayers, their 5 daily prayers, and they pray them on time, and that person doesn't reach high levels of spirituality, then that person can, and the language is different. Sometimes they say they can damn me, they can say bad things about me, they can curse me, they can spit in my face, whatever, to that level. They're giving the basic formula for all spiritual success. And now there may be a need after establishing that to go for other specific instructions that are personalized. But the starting point, the middle point, the ending point is always found in this. For anyone who's looking for true spirituality and spiritual practice, spiritual elevation, Islamic irfan, all of these things, the prayer. Conducting the prayer and doing the prayer on time. I found any time that I was protective over the prayers, I can see I have some momentum going. I can see that there's a little bit more balance in my life. Anytime I was protective over the time of prayer, I can see the doors opening. Anytime I was forgetful, anytime I was negligent, you can see that things fall apart. So the prayer serves as that central thing. One time a young man came to one of the great scholars, marhum Sayyid Hassan Ali Isfahani, Sheikh Hassan Ali Isfahani, also known as Nukhodaki. If you went to Mashhad, you've done ziyarah there, his grave is close by. He's one of the well-known contemporary scholars, urafa, practitioners of Islam, truly. Young man came to him and says, I want to be successful. I want to be happy in life. I go to ulama, what can I do? They're thinking maybe they'll tell him go get a goat and read this dua and then sacrifice it and then take the food and give it to that and take the blood. No, there's no mystery there. So I want to be happy in life. What should I do? So he says, I'm going to give you 3 keys that are going to open 3 locks for you in life. If you unlock these 3 things, you'll be happy. The first is to unlock your need for a healthy marriage, a good spouse, and a family. Young man said, I want to get married. A lot of younger people come and say, I want a good spouse. How can I find a good spouse? The second thing that he requested, he said, I want to have a good job. I want to have a good career. I want my work to be blessed. I want to have barakah. And the third thing that I want is I want to live a good life and be a good person. So I know Khodaki said, these are 3 locks. I'm going to tell you how to unlock them. The first one, you said you want a good wife, right? You want a good spouse. You want to have a good family. So you're only going to get that through your commitment to your prayers. Pray and pray on time. Allah will provide for you a good wife. And from a good wife comes good life, of course. The second thing that you want a good job, you want a good career, you want your work to be with blessing. You don't just want to make a lot, but you want it to be valuable. That same lock will open with another key. Salat, the prayer. The third one, to be happy in life, to be a contributing member of society in life. Third key also Salat. He said the Salat's the master key. Whatever lock you have in life, Salat will open it. Now you know, oh brother, I'm already doing it and it hasn't, it's not opening the lock. It's a special lock. My humble suggestion is, these are things beyond my comprehension, my understanding, and is in our kind of language beyond our pay grade. But if you're protective over the salat and you're praying on time, you still have these locks that don't seem to open, then go see a spiritual teacher and say, hey, what's going on here? I'm doing these things and it's not working. So give me some specific instruction. But it's possible in the review of our conduct with prayer, our relationship with prayer, we can find places for improvement. Risala salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So Ahlul Bayt speak about the importance of salat. Then some of the riwayat that we have are a little dangerous. They're dangerous because not only is salat important and it's the key to unlocking all the spirituality and all those things. Maybe someone say, I don't want to be very spiritual. I just want to do enough that I can live my life and I don't want my outcome to be a bad outcome. I'll go to heaven. A lot of people, I'm okay with that. It's enough for me. I'm just living life. All these, climb the mountain, you climb the spiritual mountain of Everest. Who has time for that? I have other things. Ahlul Bayt, they'll say, if you're kind of putting any sort of trust, or you're putting any sort of hope in Shafa of Ahlul Bayt. See, we're as followers of Ahlul Bayt, our job is to do what? Is to work as hard as we can, is to be as good Muslims as we can, to express our love and increase our love for Ahlul Bayt as much as we can, and to also use them as wasila, right? As a means to better understanding Allah, better worshiping Allah, and for them to serve as shafi, shafa'ah. Okay. So if we were looking for shafa of Ahlul Bayt, in addition to all the things that we're doing, Ahlul Bayt are so protective over the salat that they have certain rules for people who want to receive shafa of Ahlul Bayt. Sometimes the way we speak about shafa of Ahlul Bayt is the love is enough. Love is enough, but a love has to be accompanied by some sort of action. Sometimes you see a dysfunctional relationship, someone's like, I love you, and in the love they're like really destroying each other. What kind of love is that? Ahlul Bayt, this is narrated from Abu Basir, who narrates from Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He states that, Abu al-Hasan al-Awwal, Imam al-Qadim alayhi salatu wassalam, he says, إِنَّهُ لَمَّا حَذَرَ أَبِي الْوَفَاةِ. So he says, when my father was on his deathbed, when death had arrived at him, قَالَ لِي, he said to me, يَا بُنَيَّ, my dearest son, إِنَّهُ لَا يَنَالُ شَفَاعَتَنَا مَنْ اسْتَخَفَ بِالصَّلَاةِ. Anyone who takes their salat lightly, khaffa, it means like sees it as something of little value. And what that means is someone like me, I know it's time for prayer, and I can do it right now, but I just decide because there's more time, I'll do it later. Right? فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ. So, that's man istakhafa bis-salah. It says, our shafa will not reach the person man istakhafa bis-salah. Man, this is really concerning. Because sometimes man istakhafa bis-salah. I'm one of those people that Imam is talking about. Right? I'm one of those people, Quran says, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. That's me. But I also have a lot of trust in shafa of Ahlul Bayt. So Ahlul Bayt is saying, listen, we're not here to just like be, do some special magic or anything like that. We're here to support you. We're here to vouch for you. But our vouching for you in your following of us, of course, at the foundational level has to be a concern and a respect for prayer. Imagine someone who is like an athlete, right? An athlete is supposed to have a daily exercise routine, have a diet and exercise. And then the coach is saying, listen, even if you don't rank, you don't get first, second, or third place, no medal for you, I'll at least come in support of how great of an athlete you are. You tried, but you weren't able to perform on that day or whatever. Now imagine a coach that has to come and vouch for an athlete that doesn't go to the gym, doesn't exercise daily, doesn't exercise weekly, doesn't have a normal diet, and even if they have it, they're not, protective over the diet. What is the coach going to come and say? Oh, this is a great athlete. Who are you kidding? What are you talking about? And if Ahlul Bayt is supposed to be there, يَوْمَ نَدْعُو كُلُّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ, we're not there to, bring some sort of shame to Ahlul Bayt. These are our followers. Even in Salat, that's a very dangerous thing for me personally. Because Ahlul Bayt is clearly telling me, you want to be successful? Go in Salat. Without the salah, don't worry, don't bother with these other things. Whatever you can do that will help you strengthen the salah, do that. And that's why some of these activities within Islam, they're encouraged to be done in congregation. You know one of the reasons why Salatul Jama'ah is important? All the other benefits it has is because for lazy people like me, in the congregation, in the group, it encourages me and motivates me to do it. See, when I'm alone, maybe like I'll do my salat at the end of the time. 2 minutes left. Today we had a Saturday school, we were talking about tayammum. Tayammum, when do you do tayammum? One of the instances is when there's so little time, you can't make wudu. You have to do tayammum so you can make the prayer, right? 2 minutes left, right? No time for wudu, boom, tayammum, done. So maybe in the normal prayer, I do like that. But when I come in congregation, I come to masjid, no one's going to pray 2 minutes before the prayer's qada. They're going to pray at the beginning of the time. It's a source of encouragement for me. That's why they say the role of the masjid is so important in a healthy, vibrant community. It's supposed to serve as the hub. You're supposed to frequent it every day if you can, multiple times a day. But if not multiple times a day, at least once a day. Because the prayer that's conducted there will motivate you to bring some structure in your life. So, when we look to the effects of prayer beyond just serving as a baseline, Quran tells us a few things that are really beneficial and we can see the impact of it. A lot of times people ask, how do I know my prayer is effective? How do I know my prayer is accepted? A lot of times we're concerned more with whether it's accepted or whether it's effective. How do I know my prayer is accepted or effective? Quran says these are the signs. Number one, the prayer helps us combat our basic human desires, the lowly desires that we have. Sometimes we call the animalistic desires. Among them is the greed that we have. Inna al-insana khuliqa halu'a. See, Quran is already telling us. Not that Allah designed us with a flaw, it just says your nature is in a way that if you don't take care of it, you're going to have some of these challenges. Man has been created, humankind has been created covetous. إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا. When it has a hard time, when it experiences some difficulty, they become anxious. They lose hope, start getting weak. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. When good things come their way, when they get a little success, get a few wins, they start become really restrictive. They start becoming a little grudging when it comes to giving to others, extending that goodness to others. It's all mine, I did it. So this is a basic human flaw that every human will experience unless they have a plan to try and counteract that. And the Quran says, إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ. People are like that except for the people who are practitioners of salat. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. They are consistent in the performance of their prayer. Because that consistency will help counteract these things. All those human vices that we have that we're trying to get rid of, the salat is going to be the source of removing those things. Number two, Quran says that the correct performance of the prayer will help restrict us, control us from doing acts that are prohibited. Now, acts that are prohibited are the clear haram, and they're also, again, those poor behaviors that sometimes we have, those poor character traits that we sometimes have. The salat will serve as a solution to that. أُتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ. So recite that which has been revealed to you from the book, Quran. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ. And establish the prayer, not just perform it, establish the prayer. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ. This is an ayah that we all know. That's certainly the prayer. In the Quran it says emphatically, for sure, the prayer will restrain you or desist you from conducting those things that are a conduct that is wrong and is unacceptable. وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. And the remembrance of God is of course greatest. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ. And indeed Allah knows that what you do. So these are two things that we can use as ways to gauge how effective our prayer is, how accepted our prayer is. There's a riwayah attributed to Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam that says this very thing. A companion came and asked the Imam, well, how do I know my prayer is accepted? The Imam said, he read this ayah. He says that as much as it helps you act on this ayah, be an instance of this ayah, then you know your prayer has been effective. You conduct a prayer, it protects you for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, it's effective to that much. And you build on it. That's the reason why we do it periodically throughout the day. If I do one really good prayer in the morning, it may help me for 2 hours in the day. Then I see this person at work, and each of us have a title for those people that we see that we just can't stand. I saw this person and they threw me off. My day is ruined. I'm driving in traffic. I don't know how New Jersey, Philly sort of driving is. DC, Maryland is pretty bad, and it's well known to be not great drivers. You get behind the car right in the beginning of the morning, someone cuts you off, your day's ruined, right? Now your day's ruined, you're going to work, you're not in a good mood, don't communicate well with your team, wife calls you on the phone, you're upset, you tell her off, your kid comes home, does something dumb, you got really upset and lose it, right? So Allah says, I know these things are going to happen to you. That's why I put like little checkpoints. Do it in the morning, get out of the house. You're going to have something that's going to maybe potentially ruin your day. It's a checkpoint in noon. Come and check in. And then after that, afternoon. Then after that, beginning of the night, end of the night. So all of these are supposed to serve as checkpoints, not just to kind of clear and wash us spiritually, but also to relieve some of the frustrations that we have in life. The prayer is supposed to serve as an outlet for that, not another source of frustration. For someone like me, because the prayer is always on my mind, I got to do it, it's getting late. I only have 4 hours, only have 3 hours, only have 2 hours, only have half an hour, only have 2 minutes. It's a source of anxiety, right? Like, when can I finish the prayer and be done with it? But Islam is saying that the prayer is supposed to be a source of kind of like the moment where you see how people like look at meditation and like New Age spirituality, where like just need a moment to just reflect. Like everything is peaceful, you want always wear a nice, quiet place, calm place, free of distractions. Those are, by the way, the places we're supposed to pray, right? But anyway, you go over there, be very quiet, be in your thoughts, and kind of channel your breathing. All that's to do what? To focus that positive energy and release all the negativity. The prayer is supposed to do the same way, except it adds a little bit more physical action. You get some stretching done at the same time. So it's supposed to serve that function. And if we do it right, the prayer is the powerful way for us to protect and develop our spirituality. The Imam then continues, وَأَنزِلْنَا فِيهَا مَنْزِلَةَ الْمُصِيبِينَ لِمَنَازِلِهَا. Oh Allah, make us of those people in this, and place us in the station of those people who are protective over the salat. Al-hafidhina li-arkaniha. Make us those who are, again, protective of its basic pillars of the prayer. Al-mu'addina laha fi awqatiha ala ma sannahu abduka wa rasuluka salawatuka alayhi wa alihi fi ruku'iha wa sujudiha wa jami'i fawadiliha ala atammi at-tahur wa asbaghi. Says, Allah, help us also to perform the prayers and all these pillars in its time, just as your servant, the messenger of God, did. In the way that he stood, the way that he bowed, the way that he prostrated, the way that he spoke. So again, our prayer is supposed to resemble that of the Prophet. وَأَبْيَنَ الْخُشُوعِ وَأَبْلِغِ. And allow us to perform the prayer with the most evident and the most intense of humilities. Okay, we're just about out of time, but this is an introduction for tomorrow night. Imam now transitions. We asked for ma'rifah, right, the beginning. Will it help us understand and appreciate what's important about this month? Then second thing, because this prayer serves as the pillar of the religion, help us correct the prayer. Right? If anything is going to be corrected to help us maximize the benefit of this month and throughout the year, it's the prayer. So the Imam started there. Let us fit to prayer. And after the prayer, Imam says, let's move to the relationships that you have with other people. First with Allah, then with other people. And it begins with the family. So the Imam says, وَوَفِّقْنَا فِيهِ لِأَن نَصِلَ أَرْحَامَنَا بِالْبِرِّ وَالصِّلَةِ. So the first thing Imam says, oh Allah, in this month, grant us the success to tighten the bonds, لِأَن نَصِلَ, to connect with the bonds that we have, أَرْحَامَنَا, our near ones, our dear ones, our family, our relatives. بِالْبِرِّ وَالصِّلَةِ, with kindness, with goodness, and with some devotion, connection. So we're going to focus on that tomorrow. That's the first category. How to use the opportunity of the month of Ramadan to connect with and strengthen bonds with family. Potentially untie knots that exist that serve as barriers for us to have strong relationships with family. Next. وَأَن نَتَعَاهَدَ جِيرَانَنَا بِالْإِفْضَالِ وَالْعَطِيَّةِ. And also, oh Allah, allow us through the medium of this month to attend to our neighbors with bestowal and with giving. وَأَن نُخَلِّصَ أَمْوَالَنَا مِنَ التَّبِعَاتِ وأن نطهر بإخراج الزكوات. This is going to be maybe the night after. After we purify relationships with others, Allah then help us purify the relationship that we have with the things that we earn. So there's a purification that's happening all throughout. First with Allah, with ourselves, then with others, then the wealth that we have and the earnings that we have and how that feeds into the relationships that we have with other people. So what we want to think about then for tomorrow night is that really what are the challenges that we experience when it comes to having functional, strong relationships with the family. We all have grievances, don't we? We may be generally happy, but there are things that we can do better. Well, what's stopping us from doing that? And it's always, there's something wrong with another person. We accept it. No one's trying to say the problem is with you and I. No, we have shortcomings, but all of the fault is not our own, right? Come on, let's be honest now. Some of the fault lies with other people's. But whatever it is, who is going to capitalize on this month of Ramadan to try to make things right? That's the question we want to ask. It's not about necessarily assigning fault. It's not about assigning blame. It's not about assigning responsibility. Those things need to happen in the process of coming to some reconciliation, of coming to an understanding, of people to actually come and feel like they can express themselves and they can experience that therapeutic process of emptying oneself and feeling accepted and feeling heard. But it requires at least one of the individuals, one of the parties, to appreciate the opportunity that a month like this presents and whether they're going to take action to better it. So that's with the family, and the same thing happens with the neighbors too. So inshallah, we'll focus on these two tomorrow night, and I want you to bring with you any thoughts that you have, any suggestions that you have, any comments that you have on ways that we can utilize this month to try and maximize the relationships that we have with each other, especially our families, and then the neighbors too. See, the neighbors is specifically those people who live in close proximity to you, right? Because we live in geographically dense areas, tomorrow night we'll mention this, but in Islam, there's a 40 neighbor limit that you're considered to be like responsible for, right? 40 homes around you. So that may literally just be your neighborhood, that little development that you live in. But in circumstances like this, that we live in a Muslim community we don't live in a ghetto, right? We're not all centralized in one area, fortunately, unfortunately. These are conversations that need to happen too. Purchasing land, developing, neighborhoods that are predominantly Muslim. Those are discussions we can have later. But as Muslims, if we have 40 families, 40 households that we're responsible to, do we extend that in a way that also provides coverage for Muslim families? In my neighborhood, there may not be one Muslim that lives there. So I have responsibilities to my neighbor, but none of them may be Muslim. So I extend basic neighborly responsibilities. But Muslim and neighbor brings about a totally different level of responsibilities. Let's think about ways of maybe extending that idea to provide coverage for 40 Muslim neighbors in my vicinity. And let's see, inshallah, what we can arrive at. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the right of this night and the right of this dua, Allah make us those who hear the dua, make us those who recite the dua truly, make us those who act on the dua that we're reading. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد جزاكم الله. I think we have a few minutes if there's a need for wudu or anything of that nature that can be done. And just a suggestion, if you all have questions, I'm more than happy to be in conversation to entertain them. I'll be in conversation with coordinators here. I'm not sure when we can set something like that up, but we'll have a program next Friday, inshallah.
We'll have after the program, we'll have a special workshop with Mohana.
Inshallah. Please bring any thoughts that you have, any comments, any observations that you've made. Please come and share it with me. I'd really appreciate it. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
That's what I was reading. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على ملائكة.
Thank you so much. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله عليه الصلاة والسلام. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله عليه السلام. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
صلاة المغرب.
الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدع اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين. فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون
الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربنا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي ويا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور، وهو الشهر الذي فرضت صيامه علي، وهو الشهر رمضان. الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر ويا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن عليه وادخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
A quick announcement, inshallah, next Friday, after the main program, we'll have a workshop with the Sheikh Mehdi. Topic is yet to be announced, and then after that, we'll have some fun night. We'll have games, ping pong and other games with the kids, inshallah. So please plan to attend. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.